Hey guys, Carlo Filippone here, your muscle chef, ready to talk to you about this guy, the chicken pound. What do we do with the chicken pound? We prepare grilled chicken in different flavors, 6 to be exact. If you're serious about bodybuilding and you meal prep, don't go anywhere else. This is the company for you.
RX Television on RXMuscle.com. This is Ask Dave, better known as #AskDave, brought to you by Species Nutrition, Titan Medical, and the Chicken Pound. I'm your host, Sadiq Faruqi. This is your 30-minute question and answer show with Dave Palumbo. All your questions on diet, training, supplementation, IFBB pros, competitions, of course, the Olympia, less than 3.5 weeks away. And that's where we're going to start as we bring in Dave Palumbo. Dave, a lot going on right now on RXMuscle.com and the RXMuscle YouTube channel. Olympia content galore.
Yeah, it's great. I got to just say, first of all, in the last 2 days, Sid has had me do about 25 interviews and TV shows. Plus, I've slept about 4 hours each night. And I have a hacking cough that will probably annoy you guys at some point during the show. Having said that, I think the Olympia is displaying a lot of excitement in the lineups. We're trying to handicap and figure out who's going to win this thing. There's no reigning Mr. Olympia in the lineup. Obviously, Dexter, being the 2008 Mr. Olympia, will be in the lineup, but we don't have a reigning Mr. Olympia. So it's exciting because we're trying to figure out who's the best out there. And you can't really figure out because you don't know who's going to show up, at their best. So there's a lot of wild cards, of course. Will Hadi Chupin make it out? Get a visa in time to come to the Olympia? Will Phil Heath at the last minute announce that he's going to jump into that arena as well? And of course, that classic physique division, which may be the deepest, most competitive division of all the men's divisions in that Olympia. So that's super exciting. I interviewed Breon Ansley the other day with Chris Cormier, and those two guys are, they're looking for number 3, and I think he's going to be very tough to beat. So there's a lot of exciting storylines going on. The vacated 212, Olympia is open, so we're going to see 2 new Olympia champs in the men's division.
If you're playing the drinking game, Dave, I don't know if you're aware, but your pronunciation of Olympia is one that has drawn its own folklore amongst the RX Muscle YouTube community. So, Olympia, bottoms up.
I'm from New York. Come on, man.
You do R's to everything.
We say soda. Right, we don't say soda. Car, not car. We don't say, we say water, right? Or water, not water. Or water, as my wife would say. So, hey, forget about it.
On that note, right now at RXMuscle.com and the YouTube channel, we have an episode of Iron Debate sparked by the progress video posted yesterday of Ruli Winkler in the world-famous Magic Mirror. So check it out. It has Fuad Abiad and Guy Cisternino. That right now at RXMuscle.com and the YouTube channel. Let's go to the questions. The first 2 questions from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. And Dave, you could expand on this a little bit, but the app producer wanted to point out that the questions that we're going to be asking over the next 2 questions, that you do field some PED questions that may not be appropriate for YouTube on the app. So you could expand upon that. Let me ask the question first. Dave, how long in between cycles should a woman take? My last cycle was 6 weeks at 10 mg a day Anavar. How should the cycle and off time work for females?
Women, I usually say 8 to 10 weeks on, 6 to 8 weeks off. That's usually a good, as long as they're not doing heavy drugs, which they shouldn't be. I think that's a good cycling. Sometimes for the contest prep, I'll have women do 12 to 16 weeks on, but once again, they're doing like Anavar and maybe a little Winstrol. And then I go 8 weeks off after the show. So that, or more, depending on what the goals are of the person. Now, my app partner was wanting me to reiterate. A lot of people want a lot of drug questions. Now, when we do Ask Dave, we field everything that comes in. And they're not all drug questions. A lot is nutrition, a lot is just about life in general. If you're really into like knowledge and learning about PEDs and learning about, hardcore type topics, the app that, the Dave Palumbo Experience app, which is $29 a month, you can download it from your iTunes or Android store. is perfect for you guys, because it's one place where you can get all my articles I've ever written, all the videos I've done, so it's a library, but then you also get the ability to ask questions. And when I answer questions on the app, it's put in a public forum so everyone can see the questions and the answers. And then once a week, I do an exclusive Q&A video for that app. So people get a lot more knowledge. And if you're into, like I said, the hardcore topics, that's probably right up your alley. And it's, like I said, it's very reasonably priced. So we also put up a new workout every week. So you guys get access to that. So this is a good resource. You know, a lot of people say, Dave, do more. Well, you know what? I'm doing more in this app, and I want to give the people who subscribe to the app the ability to have more access to me, because you can ask me questions when you want on the app, and have the ability for me to give a lot of information to everyone, the community. It's like we're all part of the same team on there.
Second question. Now, this may be oddly enough, we've never really asked it before. Not sure how long you want to go. Maybe you want to do a separate video on it, but he wants a suggestion for a beginner cycle.
You know, I always say, and I've given this analogy before, if you have to blow up an anthill, you know, you don't need to use a nuclear warhead to do it. You don't need to use, you know, TNT dynamite. You don't need to use plastic explosives or C4, okay? You can use a firecracker, right? So when you're starting a steroid cycle initially, if you stick with compounds that don't aromatize, that have low toxicity, like Anavar, Winstrol, Primobolan, you're going to get results, because you're going to get results no matter what you do when you do your first cycle, and you get very little side effects. You'll get very little pituitary suppression, you'll get very little acne, hair loss, you know, water retention, and so you'll get all the benefits with none of the negatives, essentially. And you know, that doesn't last forever, obviously. You might get away with 1, 2, maybe 3 cycles like that, and then you might have to go to something stronger if you want to continue to put size on, but at least the first couple of cycles, I like to start lower. Like I said, like a 30 milligram per day of Anavar, 25, 30 milligrams per day of Winstrol. You could do orals, so you don't even have to take an injection. You could do that for 12 weeks. And see how you feel, see how you do. You could probably add a good 8 to 10 pounds of muscle if you've never used anything. And to me, that's very good results. Instead, you know, it's much better than having to use, you know, 500, 600 milligrams of testosterone a week. You're going to get all kinds of side effects. And when it's all said and done, you'll probably get the same exact results. So give it a shot.
Let's go to the Instagram questions. Again, if you're not following us on Instagram, our handle is official_RXMuscle. And again, over the course of the next couple of weeks, and then on Olympia weekend, we're going to be loading up our Instagram page, our stories with all sorts of content, with progress pictures, and then, of course, everything going on in Las Vegas that weekend. Let's go to figurepro.che. As a female bodybuilder who's potentially pre-diabetic, how does this affect putting on muscle mass and recovery? Are there any recommendations when it comes to nutrition to optimize growth?
Pre-diabetic tells me that you have poor insulin or blood sugar control. And that means that you might not be absorbing all the food that you're eating. So you have to figure out, well, what's the solution here? You know, why am I like this? Is it an inherited disorder? Is it that I'm a little older maybe and I'm not producing as much insulin from my pancreas anymore because it's been under stress for so many years? And if that's the case, I recommend, you know, and it's hard to find a doctor who's going to go along with this, because this is much more progressive new thinking. I'm sure in 10 years from now, everyone will be doing it, using a long-acting insulin to give your pancreas a rest. Because if you take a long-acting insulin, it puts a steady stream of insulin into your system. And then what happens? We got the president on the phone here, Donald Trump. Donald Trump, I'm doing a Ask Dave TV show right now. Can I call you back? Okay, thank you. Donald said he's fine with me calling back.
No, but you got to do it in his voice now.
Yeah. Anyway, so what I found is that, you know, I lost my train of thought now. What were we talking about?
Pre-diabetic.
Yeah. So I find that if you use a long-acting insulin like a lantus insulin or Toshiba, you could take maybe 3 months of doing this. That will take the burden off your pancreas to produce all that insulin, allow the beta cells of the pancreas to regenerate themselves, and then you might find you're not so pre-diabetic anymore. Because what's going to happen is if you're eating a lot of food in an attempt to put muscle on in your off season, you're putting a tremendous strain on a pancreas that's already strained if you're a pre-diabetic. So a lot of people will try to take like metformin, which is an insulin sensitizing drug. The problem with metformin is that yes, it enables you to keep your blood sugars lower, but it's not alleviating the strain on the pancreas to still produce insulin. So you're not fixing the problem. You're only kind of putting a Band-Aid on the wound. Also, metformin inhibits IGF-1 production, which is not something we want to do if we're bodybuilders, okay? If you're looking for anti-aging, it's great, but not good for building muscle. So to me, a long-acting insulin is the way to go, you know, for a period of 3 to 4 months, and then see how your blood sugar control is after that.
Zorro5144, he started the question with, answer this! With like about 4 exclamation marks, so I guess it worked. What kind of anabolics is, obviously you've trained celebrities outside of the bodybuilding realm. What kind of anabolics are the celebrities on and where do they source them? And I thought it was a pretty good question because, again, we do see very in-shape celebrities, and obviously that question does come up.
I've never trained any celebrities that were on actually anabolics. Obviously, Stallone is has been very outspoken about the fact that he takes testosterone replacement therapy. He's on growth hormone therapy, and I'm sure he gets it from some kind of a clinic, or maybe he has his own personal doctor who prescribes it. Now, there was an incident where Stallone was actually going into Australia, if you remember, like this is probably going back 5 to 7 years, and he got stopped in customs, and he had growth hormone. They're like, but he had like a lot of it. He had like a year's supply. They're like, what do you have all this GH with you for? And he's like, well, I take replacement. They're like, yeah, but you got enough here to, to last you, the rest of your life. He's like, I take a lot of it. So I don't know why he was traveling with so much. Maybe he was bringing it back from somewhere. It certainly wasn't like pharmaceutical GH. It was like more of a generic GH. So I don't know. I don't know where some of these guys get it from. If I was a celebrity and I had a lot of money, I would just go to a rejuvenation clinic. I would go to like Titan Medical, and I would be like, look, here's my, I do that now. I mean, I'm not on hormone replacement now, but if I needed it, Titan would be prescribing it for me, and I would just pay for it. I mean, that makes the most sense. So for celebrities who could afford to go to these clinics, it's a no-brainer. That's where you go. I mean, you don't take chances buying it from the black market, And most celebrities that are looking to get a little boost are not taking 1,000 milligrams of testosterone a week. They're taking 1 shot a week, If you take a guy who never took any kind of anabolics, you put him on 200 milligrams of testosterone a week and 2 IUs of GH a day and a little HCG a couple times a week, they're going to grow and they're going to get great results. They're going to lean out because their bodies are so fresh, and so are their receptors. So most of these, these guys that get ready for the Avengers movies, or they get ready for this movie or that movie, they're not taking a lot. They're just focused on training, eating right, and then a little boost maybe.
Chalupa Matej, Dave, your opinion on blasting and cruising, considering the cruising phase would only be on HRT 125 to 200 mg dose of test, and when did this trend start to appear?
Blasting and cruising is a trend that appeared and it was created by people who don't want to go off anabolic steroids because they're addicted to them, and they have a mental problem with stopping all drugs, okay? There's no reason why you should be staying on anabolics. Now, if you're 60 years old and you do a cycle and then you want to come off, there's no problem going on to an HRT dose, for the next 6 months if that's what you want to do, and you want to do a cycle once a year. But for guys that are actually younger guys that are training and they just, when they decide, okay, you know what, it's time, I got to come off my cycle, I've been on for 24 weeks, you don't stay on a HRT dose, and you certainly don't stay on any other anabolics, whether it be Anavar or Winstrol or weaker. Because when you do that, you never let the receptors truly regenerate themselves, okay? And you're also not allowing your body to fully detoxify itself. So I think, and I believe in my heart, that most people do this not because it's of any benefit and that they look any better long-term, because they don't. You look better if you go completely off and reset your receptors. They do it because they have a mental issue with going off drugs, and they're addicted to the feeling of being on steroids, and they don't want to go off. So I foo-foo that whole blast cruise bullshit. That's what it is. It was created by a bunch of lazy guys that are insecure and don't want to go off, and they rationalize in their head with their buddies, yeah, this is much safer. You just go on a low dose of this and you stay on some Anavar and some clenbuterol and you cruise. Bullshit. Go off the drugs. If you can't get off the drugs, okay, 8 weeks, 10 weeks out of every single year, then you know what? You got a serious problem.
Let's go to S-Ball 95. Of course, we are thick in the Olympia season, the Iron Road to the 2019 Olympia. Dave, who do you think will be the biggest dark horse in this year's Olympia field?
I guess you mean in the open?
Yeah.
I think that this person's going to be a bust or make it huge type of guy. And it's going to be, who do you think? Cedric McMillan. The biggest enigma and question mark in that lineup. He was just given that special invite by the IFBB. He missed qualifying. He got bumped at the last minute by Luke Sandow in the point system. But he couldn't do another show because he had some military maneuvers to do that weekend. So they gave him the special invite. I think he has the ability to win the Olympia. We all know that. We've never, ever, ever, ever seen Cedric at his best at the Olympia. We've seen him at his best, or close to his best, at the Arnold and other shows around the world, never at the Olympia, which tells you that the pressure obviously seems to get to him at that show. However, if he puts it all together, he's beaten everyone in that lineup, and he can absolutely win that Olympia. And you know what? If knowing the heart that I had when I competed and the mindset, if I had his tools and I was going into this Olympia, it would be lights out for everyone. But if he shows up, even 98% of his best, he'll win the Olympia. If he doesn't, he might not even make the top 6. That's Cedric for you, though.
We have a couple of questions about whether or not we will get Big Ramy on the show, and they tagged his coach specifically at Coach Tal. We've reached out to him, so we're waiting back to hear. But again, invitation's always out there. Would love to have.
Who's his coach now?
I don't know his name, but his handle is at Coach TAL, Coach Tal.
Oh, I thought George Farrar was helping him. No, maybe not. Okay.
Well, I guess he may be acting as his representative, as his agent.
I have no idea why. Ramy should definitely come on the show now because he's not in the Olympia. He can talk about all the other competitors. I mean, he can tell us what would happen, and because the story is becoming old and no one even is caring anymore. And I think that while people still do care, it would be nice if Ramy came on and explained what happened. If you want the court of public opinion to love you and to embrace you and to support you, it's good to actually keep them informed about what's going on in your life. I don't know why they're so secretive over there about everything that's going on. Be an open book. You'll be the most popular guy out there. You're the biggest freak on the whole pro circuit. Everyone knows that. Come on the show and tell us what's going on in your life. That's what we want to hear. That's what the fans want to hear.
Reza Mohammed-Zadeh, drinking water with food, good or bad, and when exactly should we drink water, I guess during or after the course of a meal?
I don't really know what the right answer to this is. I've had different ideas in my head. Some people say you shouldn't drink at all. Waters down your digestive enzymes. I don't believe that. I don't buy into that. However, I think if you drink tons and tons and tons of fluid, it's not necessarily good. I think somewhere in the middle is and I always tell people this. People always ask me, how much water should I drink? I'm like, drink when you're thirsty. Unless you're walking around dehydrated all the time because you're like forgetting to drink. If your body is sensing that it needs to drink, I just intuitively know when I have to drink. I probably need to have a glass of water right now. I feel a little dehydrated, but I know my body will send signals way beyond when I'm too far gone. And I drink. If you want a litmus test, a gallon a day is pretty good when you're dieting, but I don't believe in force feeding water because I think when you do and you're not really thirsty, what's happening is your body is watering down the sodium, potassium levels in your body, and that can negatively affect blood pressure. It can negatively affect muscle contraction even.
Let's go to Hog Forum. Can you give us a basic lantus protocol?
It's hard for me to do that. What I usually start guys off that are at least over 100, 200 pounds. I usually start them off at 15 IUs in the morning, before bed. And remember, lantus is a long-acting insulin. You don't need to take like a certain amount of carbs with it. You can inject it and go to sleep. 15 IUs before bed, 10 IUs in the morning. That seems to be a good baseline for most people to start at. And then for the bigger guys, I wind up having to raise it up. Now, how do you know to raise it up? Well, if you wake up in the morning, let's say your blood sugars fasting are running in 105, okay, which is too high. You take this 15 IUs at night, you take the 10 IUs in the morning, and then you find out that they're starting to run, 98. Okay, well, they came down a little bit, but they're still not enough. All right, I'm going to raise it up to 17 IUs at night. I'm going to do 12 in the morning. Now you got it down to 93. Okay, well, raised up another 2 units the next day. Now I got it down to, 91. All right, well, that's pretty close. Let's run that for a couple days and see. All right, you know what? Now it's down to 89, 88. That's within what I would call the proper deviation, plus or minus. Let's stick with this dosage, and that's how you do it. It's that easy.
Pretty, I guess, in-depth question. I'm not sure this is I'm going to go take this other one from Tony DeFranco. How do you prevent estrogen rebound at the end of a cycle from using Arimidex throughout? Since it's a competitive inhibitor, would tapering the dose help? I've had my estrogen under control and would really not like to get gyno at the end of the cycle. I'm already planning to use Testalize since I know that'll be your first answer. Ha, ha, ha. That's what he said.
Well, once you go off a cycle, your estrogen level should go down because you're not aromatizing that testosterone into estrogen. Excuse me, my bronchitis I'm dealing with. Now, if you notice that you're really not exhibiting any signs of estrogen, you could taper down your aromatase inhibitor. I usually don't. I just tell guys to stop it after they're about off cycle for about a week. Some guys who are very estrogenic, I keep them on the aromatase inhibitor even when they're not on cycle. But most people, when they go post-cycle therapy, I put them on Testalize, like he's saying. Because Testalize it doesn't inhibit the aromatase enzyme. What it does is it actually just binds extra estrogen and pulls it out of the body. But it also restricts how much DHT your body's producing. So it helps balance your hormones properly. It's hard to tell. Everyone aromatizes differently, so I can't really give you a blanket statement of what to do. But that's what I do. With my clients, I put them on Testalize usually, and I'll keep them on Arimidex for about a week after their last shot, and then I taper it on.
Let's go to Sarge at Orange. Been trying to get an answer for the last few weeks. What are Dave's thoughts on microdosing long esters EOD? Also, why is Dave so against Proviron? I've heard such positive things when it comes to mood while on cycle when this is added.
I don't. I like I like taking smaller doses every other day. That's always been the way I've prescribed anabolics. Usually, 200 to 300 milligrams testosterone every other day with an anabolic every other day. Even with the long-acting esters, I just like the every other day dosing. Now, what was the other question?
I'm gonna have to go back to that question. Why are you so against Proviron? You heard good things about mood. Yeah.
Now, Proviron is an androgenic, non-aromatizing androgen essentially. It theoretically has the ability to make you harder by helping you glycogen load the muscles better. It doesn't have any anabolic properties whatsoever, but because it's an anabolic steroid, it binds to nuclear receptors and androgen receptors. So if you got a compound that's binding to androgen receptors, right, in the muscle cells, but it has no anabolic properties, it's taking up receptors of anabolic compounds in your body that can build muscle. So that's why I don't like it, because I think it gets in the way of the good stuff working. Loading glycogen before you do it before a show, it's probably not a big deal because who cares? You're not really trying to build muscle, you're trying to maintain. But I certainly wouldn't use it in off season.
Let's go to Lauren C1. Is there a specific range blood sugar should stay in following a low carb diet, considering you'll take it consistently throughout the course of the day?
Your blood sugar's 2 hours post meals. So in other words, after you eat, you should wait 2 hours and take your blood sugar. If it's under 130, you're good. Okay? First thing in the morning, fasting, they should be under 90. That's the rule of thumb.
Let's go to, so this is the question that I was going to ask you, where if you feel like it warrants its own video, you can just say that and we'll go to the next question. It's from Bench Press 88. Can you please teach us the fundamentals on how the muscle grows? All these nuances around protein, carb, insulin, glycogen gets thrown around by everyone, but I haven't understood the basics. Would love a lesson from you on this.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked about this before, but I can talk about it again. Insulin doesn't build muscle. Insulin drives nutrients into the muscle cell. Now, you need to have nutrients inside the muscle cell for, obviously, the cells to do the thing that they're trying to do, which is synthesize new muscle tissue, right? The way the muscle grows, however, is by turning on a signal, basically. It's basically a light switch inside the muscle cell. We call it mTOR, okay, which is short for something that has no relevance to the conversation. When you flip on mTOR, okay, the body starts, well, the cells start producing proteins, okay? Protein synthesis, you've heard that expression, building muscle, increasing the size of the existing fibers, okay? That all occurs in response to the ingestion of branched-chain amino acids, specifically leucine. So animal sources of protein, like a whey isolate, post-workout, which have very high residues of leucine in them, will turn on the protein-building machinery within the muscle cell. Okay, now it's important to actually break down some muscle tissue to create the stimulus for that, okay? But invariably, it's the high branched-chain amino acid residues in these proteins that will stimulate or turn on the protein synthesis reactions. Then it's up to you to continue to feed your body every couple of hours a high protein source or high protein meals and shakes so that the body has the continual supply of raw materials to build new muscle tissue.
Josh Ardy, JJ Fitness. Now, I think he may have asked this question about 9 weeks in a row, and I'm finally getting around to it now. Dave, on his question, very important question, as a male, is it really true that you ejaculate minerals like zinc, selenium, copper are lost in significant amounts?
I have to be honest with you, when I don't know an answer to something, I say I don't know. I don't know. I don't suspect that your body would jeopardize releasing very vital, important, high concentrations of minerals that your body would require for other chemical reactions. I could see some coming out in the ejaculate or in the semen, but I can't see a tremendous amount where it would actually cause you to go into a deficit state. Now, if you're taking a product like V-Mineralize, 5 pills twice a day, you're going to get all the minerals you need, and they're all chelated, they're all practically 100% absorbable, okay, because of that fact. And it has all the right component of vitamins. You don't even have to worry about that. But, you know, who knows? You know, I've read, you know, different papers and I've read different, you know, analyses of what's in sperm. There's a little contingency of everything in there because that the fluid that they bathe the sperm is what feeds the sperm and keeps them healthy. So there's a little bit in there, but I don't think it's a significant amount where you could actually go into a deficiency state.
2 more questions, one from Morningstar 1990. While Bill Kazmaier is widely regarded as the strongest man in history, who was the strongest, most powerful in IFBB Pro overall? The names Yates and Coleman come to mind, but I suspect there were others with a reputation for lifting heavy that may not be as obvious, as aesthetics and strength are 2 different things, and appearance is not indicative of power.
Well, I mean, from a powerlifting standpoint, Stan Efferding is the world's strongest bodybuilder. I mean, he's had some, I don't remember what his lifts were, but his bench press, his squat, and his deadlift were just outrageously strong, okay? From a sheer technique powerlifting stance perspective. In the gym, doing bodybuilding gym lifts, there's not many guys that I've seen that were stronger than, you know, Dallas McCarver, the late Dallas McCarver. Akeem Williams is ridiculously, he's so strong that when you see him do the heavy weights that some like guys like McCarver did, he makes it look like it's not even heavy. I've seen him rowing 5 plates on each side like it was a day, like he was doing 135 on there. It was crazy. I see him walk out with 7 plates on the squat bar, which is, I'm telling you, I did that when I was 315 pounds. I felt like my whole spine was going to be crushed. It was so heavy feeling. And when I went down, I was so nervous because of the fact that the weight was so extreme. And he walks it out himself. He squats it down like he's doing 220, like he's doing 225 for reps, like nothing. That to me is impressive strength.
Finally, last question, Mickey Illich. How to regain motivation after a vacation or a time off? Dave, you often talk about the importance of having time off from the gym. Mm-hmm. What did you do in terms of when you came back, and then what would you advise your clients or the audience as far as what to do, how to gain motivation after time off?
I'm such an neurotic that I never wanted to take any time off because I don't want to lose muscle. You know, I felt like I always had to train. You know, I liked training, you know, and so if I would take some time off, I couldn't wait to get back to the gym to start working out again, especially if I injured myself or I had to have a surgery and I had to stay out of the gym. I was like, try to do like, I'd go in the gym and I would do like forearm curls or something like that, or anything just to work out. So when you take an extended period of time off, you should have enthusiasm to go back to the gym because you've been away from it. It's like it becomes special again. It becomes that special time for you to go into the gym, be by yourself, focus on what you're doing, and it's almost a Zen-like state. I go to the gym, seriously, I'm not joking, once every 3 weeks. When I take my dogs to the groomer, once every 3 weeks, I walk across the street, or I drive across the street, and I go to the around-the-clock fitness here. And I'm telling you, I'm only in there 20, 30 minutes. I feel like I'm in like I just went to a meditation class. It's so good. No one bothers me. I put my phone on silent except for my wife in case she has to call me because of the kids or her or something she needs. Other than that, I don't do anything. I don't even talk on the phone. I just kind of work out. And that enthusiasm is still there after all these years. Now I do train a little bit in my house. I have a setup because I just feel good, but I can only make it to the gym once a week. So for me, that is enthusiasm. So if you take off an extended period of time from the gym, you should want to get back in there. You should be like, I can't wait to start working out again because it's been driving me crazy to be away from the gym. If you don't have that enthusiasm, you don't love bodybuilding.
And that's going to do for this episode of Ask Dave. Again, brought to you by Species Nutrition, Titan Medical, and the Chicken Pound. For Dave Palumbo and Tyler Shore, I'm Sadiq Faruqi. We'll see you next time.